very much. Hello, beautiful tribe. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this talk. I'm very, very, very happy and honored and excited to be here. A few months ago, my guides were like, take the next 3 months off. And I was like, oh, brilliant. I'm going to get to rest. I'm not going to do any work. I'm probably going to create some stuff. And turns out that that wasn't actually the plan, that my guides had one of the biggest light earthwork projects I have ever done in store for me, and that I needed the time off for this project to take place. And the work we are going to go and do is the third part of 5 pieces of this land, light, earth, collective consciousness project that the guides have. And earth work for me, land work for me has been something that I've been doing for about 7 years. And in fact, this project and what we're about to do together is in many ways the culmination of a lot of what the guides have been doing in the last 7 years. So it really is a very, very sacred and important moment that has been prepared for a very, 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 very long time. And at the end of this talk, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we're going to be doing, just so you have a cognitive understanding, even though my kind of belief is that spirituality really is something that you experience, and it is through the experience that you have your own truth, and your own truth is what is important. There isn't one truth. Our truths are, our truths are like the stars in the sky. Everybody's truth makes up the whole truth of the universe, and really our journey, our personal journey, is about finding our truth and shining it as brightly as we possibly can. And so really, I want you to have an experience of it, but I will give you a cognitive understanding of it. And when I was invited to do this festival, I channeled about what I should talk about. And at the time, I didn't know any of this land work was going to be happening or anything like that. And the guides gave the title, Land, Shadow, and Freedom. And so they obviously knew more than me in terms of what was to come. And so the first half of the talk, I am going to be speaking about shadow. And shadow is one of those words that's kind of scary to a lot of people. It's one of those words that makes people go, oh, shadow work, I'm a light worker. Shadow sounds kind of dark and scary, but shadow actually, my guides say that it basically, it's called shadow because it's what you cannot see. It is working with your own deep subconscious. It's working with the parts of yourself that are generating your reality, that are manifesting your reality, but that are not in your consciousness. So it's working with the bits that you can't see. And that's why it is called shadow. And shadow work really changed my life. And I really believe shadow work is one of the most important solutions to everything that is going on our beautiful, crazy, amazing planet that we're living on. I actually call shadow work inner activism, and I'll go into that more in a moment. But I would like us to begin with just a short meditation version of meditation of a teacher of mine called Anhara. It's so that the guides can activate some energy, so that as you listen, you can also be in shadow healing and shadow ceremony with what you hear. So the guides are going to activate a light chamber into this space and around the higher selves of anybody coming to the portal and anybody tuning in from the comfort of their own homes. And it means that as I'm speaking, you will also be receiving a healing on your shadow, on your deep subconscious. And so let's begin. When you are ready, closing your eyes. And feeling the muscles around your eyes relaxing. As you breathe in love and breathe out gratitude. Breathe in love and breathe out gratitude. Breathe in love and breathe out gratitude. Feeling a column of light from the center of the universe, pouring down into your energy field, instantly raising your vibration as this light travels down through you, down into the iron core crystal in the center of the earth. And as this light bounces off the iron core crystal in the center of the earth and travels back up through you into the heart of Source, feel yourself held in a two-way flow of love and light. And in this two-way flow of love and light, experience your aura, the dance of colors and patterns that are unique to you. Your aura is your spiritual fingerprint. There is no aura anywhere in the universe like your aura. And as your auric field stretches out in all directions around you now, feel the chakras at the very top and very bottom of your aura opening, filling your aura with golden source light and silver earth, Gaia love light now. As you feel your auric field being sealed from top to bottom in white and golden light, so that only love and light can enter into your energy. And a foot away from the edge of your aura, feel the violet, the aquamarine, the gold, the ultraviolet, the rainbow, the mirror, and the white fires wrapping around your auric field so that any energy released from any direction can be instantly transmuted into love and light and sent wherever it is in the highest good for it to go. As you open your hearts to Mother Earth, feeling a grounding cord of energy from your belly going down through all of the different layers of the earth, down into the iron core crystal in the center of the earth. Feeling the iron in your blood, vibrating with the iron at the heart of the Great Mother, as she brings you into divine alignment with all that you are meant to release, all that you are meant to receive, and all that you are meant to align with and activate in this that is the beauty that is happening now. And as you come into this divine and perfect alignment, experience your chakric system opening now so that light flows into your center. And as your chakras spin, feel your energetic strands of DNA reconnecting you to who you truly are right here, right now, as these electrical shocks of reconnection happen like tiny sparks of light across your energetic field. Experience yourselves expanding into more of the brilliance of your truth as you feel the female, the male, the stillness and the unity parts of your heart melting together, bringing you into the experience of the one heart, feeling your heart beating with the heartbeat of the earth, beating with the heartbeat of Source, beating with all hearts on earth and all hearts in spirit, feeling your heart beat, belonging to the heartbeat of the universe. And upon this sacred rhythm, feel unconditional love flowing to, flowing through, flowing from, and flowing around you now. And as you reside in this, that is the overflow of unconditional love, we, the star councils of the light, activate a hexagonal chamber of light around you now. As you experience this neutrino light chamber initiating around you, instantly raising your vibration and holding you in the consciousness of no time, no space. We will say to you that during this talk, waves of neutrino energy, which will be experienced as a pulse or heat sensation rolling through you, will be transmitted, helping to dissolve that which is no longer of service to you, that which may be awakened as a story in the shadow or DNA body that you have so contracted yourselves into this circle in order to transcend, in order to heal. And as this neutrino wave passes through that which is not of service to you, that which is no longer yours to carry, it will dissolve the story, the collection of vibrational frequencies and particles that made that story a belief system, returning them to light. And there is, in the case of this light chamber, nothing for you to do. All you need to do is listen. But when you feel a physical or emotional sensation, know that what you are listening to is being de-storied through these neutrino light wave healings that we, the councils of the light, gift to you at this sacred moment of your ascension. And around you, a sacred golden bronze car portal is initiated now, protected by the sacred fires of the seraphims. And this car portal allows that which you receive on this healing level to be reflected into the collective consciousness, to be received by the collective consciousness in the way that is in the highest good of all, so that what you do for yourself how your higher self heals you in this now. Happens through the law of oneness for your human tribe. We send you love, and we send you gratitude, and most importantly, we send you belief, for we believe in you. We believe in your brilliance. We believe in your capability. We see what you are here to do, and we see you doing it with joy and effortlessness. And so, thank you to the guides for that opening meditation. And like they said, really, the neutrino chamber is just going to be working through. So, unlike most shadow work, which is much more ceremonial, you're getting the car wash version that just does it for you, which is, you know, sometimes they just like us to work, I think. You know, I was woken up this morning by a message that basically said, knowledge is only power if you're going to take responsibility for that knowledge. If you don't take responsibility for that knowledge, then it's not power, then it's just information, and it can actually be a weight of information. And now we live in this age where information is just in overdrive and in overload, and there is so much information and there is so much truth. And why I think shadow work has been so important to me and my path is really, it gave me an opportunity to be responsible for things that I maybe found difficult or hard or that I didn't want in my life, is something that I will always turn to when my life isn't manifesting in the way that I want it to. So from a shadow work point of view, and I know there's loads of points of view, but from a shadow work point of view, we are master creators, and we create our realities. But we don't just create our realities from our consciousness. So our consciousness is everything that we know about ourselves. Our consciousness is, you know, our address, the name of our mum and dad, our dream, the things that we want for ourselves, our dreams. It's everything we know about ourselves, including our victim consciousness, the things we maybe don't necessarily like about ourselves as well, but it's everything we know. And then we have our shadow, which is like I said, the bits we can't see. It's our deep subconscious. And our deep subconscious is made up of memories that we have forgotten. I like to call it like the attic or the basement, you know, where everything just gets dumped. So it's memories we've forgotten, it's past life memories, it's things we've absorbed from the collective consciousness, it's ancestral memory that was passed on through our DNA, it's lineage memory, it's collective consciousness memory. You know, the first few years of our lives, we're just sponges and we just absorb everything. And so much of what we've absorbed from the atmosphere, it's also junk, you know, it's funny because in Japan they think the junk DNA, the scientists are researching that the subconscious is in what is referred to in science as the junk DNA. And you know, there is also junk in the subconscious that we've picked up from MTV and all of these things. And but it is a creational energy, our subconscious. And so our subconscious has the ability to manifest as well. And in my experience, when you are manifesting your life and it's not going to plan, I have never not gone on a journey to my subconscious and not found out why that thing that wasn't going to plan was manifesting. And so usually what is happening is we're trying to manifest one thing from our consciousness, and when our life is blocked and it's not flowing, it's because there is a conflict to that manifestation in our deep subconscious. And so an example that I nearly always give, just because it's a very easy one to understand, is nearly everybody wants to be abundant, because abundance is a very, very good thing. Firstly, it's our nature. Secondly, it means we are in overflow. We can look after our friends, our family, what we love doing is doing well. So most people at some point in their lives are trying to manifest abundance or want to manifest abundance. Most people really, really struggle with this because in terms of the collective, there's just, and past lives and religion, and so, there's so much in our deep subconscious around the concept of abundance. So what you get is somebody doing a course to manifest more abundance of money, and then in their deep subconscious, they've got the belief that money is the root of all evil. And so that part of them is in direct conflict with the part of them that is trying to manifest this abundance. And the subconscious isn't hurting you, it loves you. It genuinely believes money is the root of all evil and is trying to keep this evil away from you. It's trying to protect you. And so what shadow work really is about going in to those roots, it's going into the soil out of which we are growing our current reality and pulling out at the root the things that have manifested that are not in alignment with our consciousness. And for me, this is an amazing responsibility. This is creative responsibility, because suddenly life isn't happening to you. You are creating your life, and you can get the things in your life that are not right for you out of the map of your life, out of the garden you are growing. And it is amazing. Like, I cannot tell you how much through doing shadow work, my physical reality has transformed. And I have many, 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 many stories. Probably the one that is most moving to me is the one with my mother, because my mother was very, very sick when I was born. And our relationship was just in such a bad place that we couldn't even be in the same room together without it being fighting and tears and pain. And as I did the shadow work on my mother wound, our relationship pretty much overnight, it wasn't overnight from the shadow work, so the best time to do shadow work is an eclipse window. I'd been guided to do this particular mother wound work in an eclipse window, and by the next eclipse window, the new manifest reality had shown up. That tends to be what happens with eclipse windows. And like, our relationship has completely transformed. Everybody that knew us back then is like, how is this possible? I can't believe this. And like, we're really, really good friends now. And here's the best bit. She hasn't done anything. She got to sit and have tea and watch TV. And like, it transformed just because I did the shadow work. So it doesn't even take two people. It takes one person to do the shadow work. Now, how my guides teach shadow work is they say that if you want to know what's going on in your shadow, look at the map. Your life is your map. So if you want to know any part of if you want to know what your abundance is like, look at your life map. What's your bank account saying? Your relationship, look at your life map. Your life is a map of your consciousness. And so if there is something in that map that isn't right, you need to go, in my opinion, you need to go into the shadow and go and find it, and go and heal it, and go and change it, and go and uproot it. And this for me is brilliant because, so firstly, and here's the bit that I think so many people miss when they're learning about manifestation. I believe we're here for our shadow work. Like this planet is a temple of alchemy. Everything on this planet is alchemical. It's about the recycling of reality, including our physical bodies. It is about alchemy, and I really believe that souls come to this blue-green healing planet anytime, any dimension, to do a certain amount of shadow work. I believe that's why we're here. We come for the alchemical processes that are so perfect for our shadow. And because of that, with manifestation, like I'm going to manifest a new job, what will happen by the laws of alchemy and by the laws of this planet, everything in the way of that will start to crop up, will start to manifest in the map of your life. Because that's the point, that you're then meant to go into ceremonial conversation with it and go into the shadow and find out and dig it up and get it out of you. So that you can then create space to bring in this new reality that you want. So, you know, how the Mother Earth creates reality, and we are here in this slowed down planet to learn how to create, like having a cooking lesson from Mother Gaia. She does it through alchemy. She does it through the law of exchange. The winter exchanges for the spring. This is, you know, we are part of this. We have to become alchemical with our approach to the realities that we are creating. And that is even more important right now. But like I said, so what happens is you set an intention, and generally in my experience, everything in the way of that intention will come up. Partly, like I said, as the law of exchange, because if you're going to create something, you need the fuel to create out of, you need the matter to create out of, and the shadow's great because it isn't actually you. It's like all this spare fuel in your attic, you know, it's creational energy in your attic that you can use to create a new reality out of. But you've got to burn it, you've got to alchemize it, you've got to put it through the healing process. And why shadow work is so important right now is like, we have got to learn to manifest, because I don't believe that anybody in this planet, whatever they believe right now, wants to live on this planet, on the human reality right now, where people are sick and people are scared and people are controlled. Like, we've got to manifest a new reality. And so you have your personal reality, and your personal reality is the orbit of your personal life. So the things I've been mentioning, like your bank account and your partners and your friends and your home, that's your personal reality. But we also can do alchemy and shadow work on the collective shadow. And the collective shadow, same rules apply. Map of your life. So what we see on the collective shadow is in our collective shadow right now. And so if we're seeing fascism on the collective shadow, that means it's coming up to be ceremonially. That means it's coming up to be addressed and worked on. And this is why I call shadow work inner activism. Because it's like, yes, outer activism is really important. You can go and you can go and try and deal with those things on an outer level, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I promise you, if those roots are there, they're going to grow back up. And so we also have to address it on that, like, where's the root of these things? You know, let's get to the root of them and get them out of our creative consciousness. And this is what I mean about knowledge is power if you actually do something with it. You know, like you know, we can have all of this knowledge about everything that is going on in the world, but are we going to uproot it? Are we actually going to take it out of the system? Are we going to change it? Or are we just going to know about it? And so, and you know, I had this amazing moment last year where I was meditating, and I suddenly we're masked. We're masked. The human race is masked. And suddenly I saw, because years of experience has taught me to look at the collective shadow, I saw that, you know, that thing of it manifesting on the surface is, on the shadow level, what it is that humans like to mask their truth. We have been living and creating through the magic of lying. We've been taught to create through the magic of lying. We have learned, you know, from early childhood to mask our truth, and that is the root that we need to get out of the system if we don't want to be masked anymore. What happens on the shadow level is not the same as what happens on the surface level, but when you hit the root and when you heal it and when you get it out of the system, the surface kind of realigns itself. Does that make sense? A different manifestation happens, a seasonal change happens, and it changes. And I really believe the human collective consciousness, there's enough people that are awake now, that are setting the intention. We want to get to the golden age. We want to get to Aquaria. We want this new world that that has the values of Aquaria, of community and freedom. And what is happening? Everything that is in the way of that is coming up. Everything that is in the way of that is coming up. And we are not meant to not be in ceremony with that. Like, we are the ones that are meant to be going in and doing the weeding and the gardening and getting it out, because honestly, if you can see it, you have access to it in your shadow. You have access to it in your shadow. If you can see it, you have access to it. And so, and you know, it's quite a humbling thing to have access to some of the collective shadow. But the collective shadow, it's just, you know, it's our human story that never got processed, that never received the ceremonies it was meant to receive. It's the stuff that's in the land. And this is why land work is so important, because our shadow is in our DNA, but you know, our ancestors with their trauma, because they didn't get the death ceremonies they were meant to get, they died with those stories, and those stories are recycling through the manifestation of the human journey on Earth. And so we, you know, it's in our kind of ancestral memory, it's in our DNA, we access the memory of the land, and that is how we can manifest these roots that are so important to uproot, because we can't go to Aquaria with them because they belong to Pisces. And so for me, it's inner activism, and what's beautiful about it is you can do it wherever you are. You can do it, you know, from your own home. You can do it without having to go out publicly and do it. You can go inwards and you can do it. I highly recommend, when you're first learning shadow work, to do it with somebody. There are many amazing shadow practitioners out there that can teach you how to do it safely, that can hold ceremony for it to happen. The main thing I use is something called temple alchemy. That there are many, you know, plant medicines, anything. There are many, many, many wonderful things, and you should be in the divine conversation, because with any healing journey, you should always follow your own divine conversation to the right teacher, the right healer, the right space, the right medicine, because that saves you a lot of time and money. But I'll give you an example of collective shadow. So one of the things I do is I teach people to channel, and I am lucky enough we have a course. So I teach people that are English speaking from all over the world to channel. But I also work for a company in Japan that gets a translator in, and we either have an online course or sometimes I go there in person. And what was fascinating to me was Japanese people learn to channel like that. Like, you just open up the space for them and they pop, and they are just like light languaging. They're just amazing at it. And one day I like was curious, and I asked my guides, and I was like, so why are Japanese people so good at channeling? And they were like, they were never burnt. They don't have the memories of being burnt and persecuted for their magic that the Westerners are carrying. So every time a Western person hits that gateway of setting the intention to channel, what happens is those old wounds come up, and those old contractions come up in them of like, oh, I'm going to be burnt, and they don't even hear it, it's in their shadow, but it blocks the flow of that connection. And so they have a step to go through that the Japanese people don't have to go through, which is getting through that fear that you're going to be burnt for your connection. And this is what I mean about collective shadow. It's you know, sometimes it's global, like the Mars thing. Sometimes it's national. Sometimes it depends what the land remembers and what your physical DNA remembers. But the beautiful and amazing thing about shadow is, yes, there are those traumas and those things that are there that need to be released, and there's karmic patterns and all of this. But your shadow also holds everything that is outside of your limitations. So everything that is outside of your personality self. So do you know what else it holds? Your potential, your gifts that your personality self is too limited to accept. It holds all of the greatest things that you could possibly be in this life. That's the other reason we dig in the shadow, is it's not just to excavate trauma and karma and stuff like that. It is also to find the diamonds. It is also to call in the potential. And the reason I'm saying this is because part of the land work we're going to go and do, which I'm going to explain a bit more about in a minute, part of the land work we're going to go and do is because what my guides are obsessed with at the moment is that the land in America holds the potential for human freedom. It holds the history of America is a land that for most of its history has been free. And even the people that came and founded the America that we know, they came with the intention to be free of the armies and that potential for freedom, and of course its polarity, which this land that we're standing and sitting on has seen as well. It's all there in the shadow. And one of the most important things you in America can do every time you do your personal or collective shadow work, call in what freedom truly feels like. Because I'll tell you what, how far back my British shadow would have to go to feel that compared to you guys. It's like you guys can bring it in to the collective consciousness. You can bring it into the collective vibration. Collect freedom. It's in the soil, and your shadow is the soil out of which you grow. It's in you. It's in your junk DNA. And this is something we have to start vibrating with, because we have to meet what is happening on the collective with equal force. So this contraction around freedom, we have to actually bring the force of freedom out of where it is buried through us. And they are saying that America is the place that this will happen just because it is the land of the free. It's there. It's so close. And yes, there's stuff to heal between you and it, but there isn't as much as there is for people with a different collective shadow. And so this is a mission I would like to task you all with whenever you do your inner work. And I will do my best to give you some tips on shadow work. We can even maybe do some in the healing I'm doing tomorrow morning if you're interested to learn. But the most simplest thing I can say is whenever something is going on in your life, personally or collectively, take responsibility for it. Just be like, what is this giving me? That question, if you direct it towards your shadow, even if you don't know where it is, it will be answered. And sometimes you have to sit there being like, what is this giving me? And you don't get an answer, and then you're like, what is this giving me? And then suddenly a feeling comes up as an answer, and then a memory, and then a past life memory, and suddenly the shadow is answering you, and you're purging it out and you're letting it go. And as soon as it becomes conscious, then you can change it. Then you can use the power of your free will to change it. Then you can do, I clear, cancel, delete this from all timelines and directions. But until it's conscious, you can't use the power of your free will to change it. So you've just got to see it. You've just got to see that part of you that believes money is the root of all evil, or believes that the only way to manifest is to master your truth because that's what your parents taught you, or believes that you don't want to have the responsibility of freedom, or whatever it is that the shadow and its kind of very protective way of doing things is doing. And shadow work is even important, is so important right now, because this summer, this now, not in 10 years' time, not next, not in another paradigm, this now, this August, there is a timeline split going on. And so, or a timeline split beginning. And so how my guides have explained it to me is humanity is going through a timeline split where every single human being on earth gets to make a choice about which path they take towards Aquaria. And how a new paradigm is created, or a new world is created, is through a timeline splitting in two. That is how new dimensions and new paradigms and new ages are created. And at first, that split isn't very, very significant. You can barely notice it. It's a hairline. And then over time, that split gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you have two different paradigms. And so, and we are living through, it's part of our ascension process, a timeline split. And there are two timelines. Well, there are many timelines, but there are two major ones that are really important. One is the golden timeline, that is the timeline of our greatest possible potential. That is the one that is available right now. Our greatest possible potential as human beings is available, and it's available now. And then there is another timeline that is like the karmic timeline, that is like human beings want to do another cycle. You know, they want to go around the block again. Like, and they want to do it through the hard karmic work. And so those are the two choices, and they are magnetic choices. And they're choices that we make. And how we can align, you know, I believe that, I don't think I understood the word way shower until this summer. I used to think way shower was just somebody that like spoke about things, held workshops, things like that. And then my guides explained to me that like some of us, if we choose it, can get on to that golden timeline. And while they're still together, by being on that golden timeline but still close enough to the reality of the others that have maybe chosen the other timeline because they didn't know better, they will see us on that timeline and they will find a way to get to it, be inspired to get to it. And so one of the most important things we can do as light workers, as people that are awake, as anybody that identifies with being a way shower, is do everything we can to get onto that timeline. And there are some amazing tips I can give you for the timeline. Really amazing tips. So the first one is, what's your language? This pandemic we are living through is part of of the timeline choice. And this is where really I'm only speaking about this at Camp Disclosure. But it's part of the timeline choice. And have you noticed that there's 2 names for the virus? So close your eyes now and just feel with your energy body, with your light body, with your vibration, how the word corona makes you feel. And now, COVID. Which one makes you feel expanded and which one makes you feel contracted? COVID, and I'm not going to say it again, certificate of vaccination ID, it has a different paradigm. It has a different timeline. One of the things you can do to align with the golden timeline, if you felt what I felt when my guides gave me this guidance, is just use the word corona. It means crown. It means crown. We are coming out of the time of the crown of thorns, which was when humans believed that love and sacrifice was the same thing, into the time of the golden age, the time of the golden crown. And those that are not ready to come out of that, they're making sacrifice for others. So use the words that are taking you to the right timeline, particularly that word. It's such a simple thing, but our words are spelling, you know? They're affirming, and they're affirming our free will. And then another thing that you can really, well, do your shadow work. You know, if you want to be aligned with that timeline, you have got to get your magnetic system golden. And the more we do our shadow work, the more light we bring in to the shadow, the more golden we become, the lighter we become, the more we release our karma, the more dharma we become. So you're doing alchemy on your magnetic body. That's why your reality changes. Your shadow is your magnet. You know, space is magnetic. Your shadow is your space. What's in your space will manifest around you. So do your shadow work is just essential. But the guides have some other advice for you as well, which is, and I love this, and I have to say I've been doing this personally. It only came through at the start of August, but they were like, what you have to do is you have to get liquid iron and edible gold. And every day so they do an activation for it, which I will share on the Camp Disclosure group. You only have to activate it once. And then every day you put some gold, edible gold, which you can get from baking shops. They put it on cakes and wedding cakes and stuff like that. You put the edible gold in the liquid iron. The liquid iron represents the magnetics of Mother Earth. And the gold is about bringing the golden frequency into you for the golden age timeline. And then you literally do an affirmation that you can say whatever is right in your heart, but the general sense of it is by the law of free will, by the law of life, by the laws of Mother Earth, by the laws of Tantra, by the laws of cosmos, I choose to align with the greatest possible timeline. And I choose for this to be my magnetic vibration, because, you know, we get caught up in our human laws, but we don't realize that there are cosmic laws that override the human laws. And one of the cosmic laws, and it's why everything has to be hidden in plain sight on this sticky point that we're in on the planet, is that everything must pass through the law of free will. The law of free will, it's like the checkmate law. It's like if you don't put your free will into something, nothing can really do anything. You know, they have to trick you into giving your free will. And so if you use your free will in a different way, you are really, really overriding those laws and those manifestations that belong to the other timeline. And like, I have to say, you know, when the guides gave this, I was like, really? This is gonna work. But like, I have to say that like, every day I do it, I feel my sovereignty getting stronger. I feel myself being less tangled up and less sticky with the old, with the current reality, and more sovereign. And so I really recommend doing that. The other thing the guides recommend is listening to harp music. Harp has a way of tuning and releasing your magnetic body. So if ever you're feeling like dense from the collective, listen, and if you've done shadow work and you're feeling heavy from it, listen to harp music and your magnetic body will automatically be retuned to its higher self frequency. We have a joke in my tribe in the UK that we're like, they're going to ask us what we did in the apocalypse. And we're going to be like, we ate gold and listened to harp music. And so I invite you all to eat gold and listen to harp music. The other thing, and I really invite you to do this, and this is what I mean about knowledge, like take responsibility for the knowledge. You know, sometimes we do need to connect in to what's going on in the collective. We need to watch the news, or we need to get into a talk about, you know, what's happening, or, you know, we need disclosure. We don't want to walk around bypassing. And so sometimes we need to go in and know what's going on. But one of the most powerful things you can do is then pull your energy out of it. Don't leave your energy in generating it. Every time we talk, every time we look, every time we read, we are giving our creative attention to something. Imagine if you just imagine your energy is like a plug and you just pull your energy out of it. You weaken that timeline by pulling your electric magnetic energy out of it, and then send that energy towards the one you want. Send that energy towards the golden age. Send that energy towards what could be. You know, my guides have this, they're like, human beings, they're so good, and I want to do some shadow work on this, but they're like, you're so good at always connecting to the worst potential. Like, when you've spent a bit too much money on crystals, you start being like, oh my God, how am I going to pay my rent? Like, you start imagining that you're going to be thrown out of your house and never, like, we are very programmed and trained to connect to the worst timeline. What if you started pulling the plug on that and just sending the energy towards the best? You know, my guides have this wonderful thing. They're like, turn your worry into wonder. Stop worrying and start wondering. Start opening up to what could be. We have manifesting responsibility here to get onto the golden age timeline. If some of us don't get onto it, there will be no way for others. In terms of others getting onto it, the guides say that you know, there will be many opportunities for them too, but there has to be somewhere for them to go. There has to be. Otherwise, they will never get there. And you know what? Human beings don't like to be told what to do. They don't. But they do love to be inspired. So if they see you, I mean, my guides have gone as far as to say that those of us that can get far enough onto that timeline, we will be able to manifest the impossible to those other people that we know, that we love, that we can see are magnetically going down the slavery timeline. And I'm going to speak about why it's a slavery timeline in a minute, because it's connected to our light work. But if we can prove through the power of our manifestation that they can manifest a new reality, they're going to be like, I want some of that. You know, like, inspiration is all that is ever needed. So you don't need to worry about them as much as you need to worry about getting onto that timeline. You know, there will be ways if some of us can get there, but right now we have got to prioritize getting there. And so that brings me to the light work that we're doing. And like I said, I don't think I realized how much land and shadow were connected until I started working with the land. My guides, the last time I was in America, which was 8 years ago, I was channeling a tree, and the tree was like, the next time you're here, you're going to be working. And not long after America, I would come back, change my life, go to a new city, and then start doing land work. And one of the land work projects that we did was a project in Ibiza, which is an island. It's the third most magnetic place on Earth, and it's an island of Spain. And all the guidance I got was that we would be going every year for 5 years, and we would do ceremony with the land there. And what I didn't know until we started doing it was that this was a project that the guys wanted to do to heal some collective karma. And I really invite you to listen to this story, because the neutrino chamber right now is pulsating. If you have any of this karmic story inside of you, it will be dissolved. And so the shadow work we did there was connected to Atlantis. The Mediterranean really is the portal to Atlantis. And we went to Atlantis, like we actually went. Like the guides opened portals that took us there, and we saw it. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't believe in Atlantis. My guides are like, that's PTSD. Like, they're like, you know, when people don't believe in something, they're just like, I don't believe in it. When you bring up Atlantis, they're like, I do not believe in it. So yeah, they're like, everybody has PTSD. And this is the story of Atlantis that we were working on, the karmic wound that is so relevant to now and the work we're going to do, which is why I want to share it. So the human collective does, on a high level, always agree to everything it goes through. We're like adrenaline junkies. We're just like, yep, I'll take that. We'll do that. We'll evolve the universe by trying that out, you know? And so we did agree to this story, but we also decided that it would be more fun if we didn't remember that we'd agreed to it, so that we could really live it. And Atlantis was matriarchal. It was a matriarchal society, very, very ceremonial society. I just want to talk to you about ceremonial society. You know, we're coming out of an age of the age of Pisces, which was an age, there's only ever age of story or age of ceremony. So there's only ever age of like battle or age of oneness. My guides did this whole explanation to me about the difference between a golden age and a non-golden age. And in the end, I concluded, I was like, so either you fight or you FCUK. Like, that's basically all there is in terms of either you create by fighting or you create by coming into oneness with. And so a golden age is about the oneness. And Atlantis originally was a golden age, so it was very, very ceremonial. It's about the Tantra and the dance of sovereignty and oneness and amazing technology. But also, for the end of it, the human collective decided that we were going to try out an ego and see what happened then if we went into an age of battle. And so we decided that the ego was going to be formed at the fall of Atlantis. And what happened was the women, because they were the ones in charge, they went into their egos first. And they really, and in Atlantis there wasn't two genders, there were three genders. There were the gender of the priestess, the gender of the feminine, the gender of the priest, the gender of the masculine, and then the gender of those that embodied both genders, the priesty, the gender of the perfect union. And so the women started to develop an ego. And you have to remember that they had so much magic and so much power and so much ceremony. And with that ego, there was really a lot of misuse that was starting to happen, you know, this magic and this ego was quite a thing. And the men and the women in a way started to go to war with each other. And the priestie really tried to stand against it because their consciousness and their union just couldn't cope with it. And they could see that it was not a good thing. And so the priestie started to be really, really persecuted. And eventually the priestie, who were also ceremonial, decided to do a mass exit. This wasn't part of the plan they did a mass ceremonial exit where they disappeared themselves out of the language, out of the consciousness. Some of them didn't go. Some of them at the moment of the kind of mass suicide decided not to go, and so they really had their own kind of lost soul journey. But the priestie left. And the thing is the priestie had really been holding the feminine in its balance and in its harmony. Because the feminine is like that mother nature energy, you know, it's that storm energy. And so as soon as the priestie left, things got really bad. And also the priestie had been kind of protecting the feminine. And then what finally happened after, the fall of Atlantis was more than one lifetime. But what eventually happened was the masculine finally kind of gained control, blamed the feminine for everything that had happened. And it was decided that the feminine definitely shouldn't be responsible for leading anymore. And because it was a ceremonial age, they did things ceremonially. And so one of the things that happened was they did these rape ceremonies where they literally they raped the power out of the feminine wombs. That's what happened. And the feminine response to this was that this is like ceremonial army culture. So it wasn't like the men necessarily wanted to do this. It was a certain group, a certain power that ordered this to happen and things like that. And so then what happened is the women started putting magic on themselves so they didn't have to feel these rape ceremonies. That magic was numbness magic. And it is still recycling in our sexual energy to this day. It's why you still sometimes get women going numb during sex. That magic is still recycling in the system. This is what I mean about the things that recycle from the shadow, and why sometimes you get men going numb in sex. It's because that magic is still there. And so this karmic wound has played out, and I just want to explain about karma. Karma is when the human race, or when any being does something so far out of alignment, they have to wind back through it all to learn. And in a way, our age of Pisces has been that karmic rewinding of that Atlantis winding. And we're very much at the end of that karmic rewinding. And the work that I was doing with the land was very much about getting all of the pain of the priestie and the feminine and the masculine and all of it out of the collective consciousness and out of the DNA and out of the system. But what I didn't know, and what is so relevant until this summer, is that what was raped out of the women's wombs was something called the Amrita. And in Tantra, Amrita is female ejaculation. But what the Amrita actually is on an energetic level is the primordial feminine magic of being able to manifest out of nothing. So if you think of most manifestation and most creation, it requires chemistry or alchemy. It requires something to be burnt and used to create. The Amrita is the primordial first magic of the universe that can do it out of nothing. It is a very important manifesting magic. And throughout the age of Pisces, the human experience, because of those rape ceremonies, has been that the Amrita has not been in the feminine energy in all of us, whether we are male, female, or priestly, but it has been in the hands of the powers that are running the world. They have had it. And the feminine, if you think of the history of Pisces, the feminine has been chained to the masculine because of it. That, again, why we're seeing what's happening in the Taliban come up is because all of this is coming up to come out at this time. And that power, that the karma is done now. The karmic wounding, the karmic journey, the karmic lessons is done. And so now the Amrita is being returned to the feminine energy in every single one of us. And this is going to do two things. It's going to create enough power for the timeline split to actually happen, because you need a big magnetic movement of energy for that to happen. But it's also the systems, and I really believe this, the system, the people that are ruling the planet right now, and I want you to think about this. You know how we're quite good at manifestation, but it sometimes feels like they just have this power that we don't. What that is, it was explained to me, our manifestation requires alchemy and chemistry. It requires time. The Amrita is true instant manifestation. And that's why it feels like they're always one step ahead. And so, but they know it's going, because they know it cannot stay. The karma's done. Gravity is gravity. Do you see what I mean? And the reason that slavery timeline is being created is because the only way their systems can stay in place when they don't have the Amrita is with the power of slavery. And this is why there is panicking going on, because they know they're on the clock. They know that once the Amrita's back, they're on the clock. And the Amrita's going to come back slowly. But what we're going to do today, and what part of this light project is that we're doing, is to help the magnetic alignment of the collective consciousness of the crystal grid, the one heart grid, and the ascension grid with the greatest possible timeline. To call in the codes of the Amrita so that we can create a pathway for the Amrita to get back to where it innately belongs. So that this age that is matricentric, this new age that is a much more feminine way, that Amrita power needs to be back in the feminine energy of all of us. But also, and this is where the ancestors came in when they had their vision, which I spoke about in the opening ceremony, where the ancestors of this land, they weren't victims. They really want you to know that. They saw this, and they knew that this was coming, and they knew that some of their magic and their wisdom needed to be buried. And so what they buried with their own bodies and their own tears and their own blood was the freedom codes that would help with the unshackling and would help with the passage of the Amrita. And the freedom rights, the freedom templates, they're in this land that we're standing on. And the magnetic golden, the Amrita and the freedom rights need to come together for this magnetic wave to occur in the collective consciousness. And then we need to align it with the golden age timeline. So this is big cosmic clockwork, dimensional work that the guides want to do. And what's beautiful is we've started this work, we were guided first to go to Avebury on the Lion's Gate. And on the Lion's Gate in Avebury, and the lion's really important as well, but on the Lion's Gate in Avebury, what the guides kept speaking about was the 6-point star. And they were like, the code of the Amrita is the 6-point star, and this is what we're activating. I have from Avebury when we did the light work in Avebury, we had over 50 people holding prayer all over the world for that light work to happen. They're holding prayer again for you guys this evening. But they prayed into a crystal that is being buried into this land that holds that 6-point star code that is going to help with the meshing of the freedom prayers and codes that are in the land. And they were like, 6-point star, 6-point star, that Amrita's all about the 6-point star. And literally, as we were doing this work in Avebury, in the UK, this crop circle appeared. Oh, wow. So believe in your magic. Believe in the magic of this. Like I said, the guides have been working on this for like 7 years. They have been preparing, we had to get rid of that karma for this to happen. So much work has been done for so many years, and there's been so much magic for this moment. Ancestors of this land prepared like hundreds of years ago for this. This isn't baby stuff. This is huge soul stuff that we are about to share. And it's 1717, because the universe just wants to remind you that you're really aligned. And the other beautiful thing, and I just want to share about it, is the Cathars. So the Cathars were in France and Europe, but mainly the south of France. They were followers of Mary Magdalene. And they believed, and I was thinking the Amrita is even in the Bible. It's the Virgin Mary. It's in this stuff is in the text. And so, the Cathars were followers of Mary Magdalene. They were the last people in our timeline and in our DNA to have access to the ways of the Amrita, the knowledge of the Amrita, the ways of Mary Magdalene. And she was the keeper of the Amrita in that Jesus Mary Magdalene story. And the Cathars existed. They didn't believe in kind of the church, and they were like anti all of that. So they were Christian, but they were also about your divinity being inside of you and inside of nature. Their way was like the way of love. And they were really badly persecuted. They were another group of people that saw that it was better that their knowledge wasn't found. And so they were another group that decided to be persecuted, and they burnt so that energy would go into the sun. And the last of the Cathars died on the 24th of August, 1321. And as he was going up in flames, he made a prophecy. And his prophecy was that he was like, we will return. The Cathars will be back. You haven't got rid of us. 700 years from now, the laurel will turn green again, and the Cathars will be back. And in Europe, the laurels went white, and they have just, the last few years, they've turned green. And 700 years ago, literally pretty much to the date, it was the 24th of August, is when it happened. And so the prophecy is coming true. And when we were doing the second part of this work in Glastonbury, which is the heart chakra, where we were really working with the laurel, working with the laurel. And so can you imagine my surprise when we're driving to this campsite and I see a sign saying Laurel Ridge. And where we're going is Laurel Ridge, where the portal and this work is happening is Laurel Ridge, because this is part of the Cathar prophecy. It's part of the return of the land. And it is part of us as guardians. If you are here, you are guardians of the Amrita. That is why you are here. If you are listening online, then I ask you to pray. I ask you to send energy to us, and I ask you to hold any prayer to any deity that feels right for you, or simply say the beautiful Kirtan prayer, which is, may all of the beings in all of the worlds be free and at peace. And just hold prayer for the next few hours. Prayer will bring you into the miracle body. But whether you are online or in person, you are here because you're guardians of the Amrita. You are here to help navigate the Amrita back to where it is, so that the Amrita timeline, which is the golden age timeline, can begin. And you have, your DNA has it. This is why the guides have been doing this like fast-tracked car wash light chamber healing on you all, so that you're nice and clear to do this portal work, to do this magnetic alignment work, so that we can help create a magnetic connection with that golden age timeline, where every single human being has the rights of freedom and the power of the Amrita to create a reality. And so it's just a normal day in the office. There are many, many ancestors and guides about to support us. But I really want to, like I said, what I've seen with this work is that a lot of the ancient cultures that we perceived as being victims, they weren't. They were just playing the long game. And the message that I've really had from the ancestors of the land, we were having a conversation last night about wolf in sheep's clothing and stuff like that. And the message I got from the ancestors is like, but why do you still perceive us as sheep? We're not sheep. We weren't victims. We were seers. We chose to lose battles, to preserve things, so that there would be magic that the people that trespass against you have never met before and don't know how you're going to use. Like, stop seeing us as victims. See us in our power. And this is another thing you can do to activate the golden timeline, is you can look at anybody, no matter how scared they are, and see them see them in their power, see them in their divinity, see them in the truth of themselves, and you will help to activate them. And we also need to look at her story, our history, and start coming out of the story and into the ceremony, and into how wise and brilliant our ancestors were. And because then we give back the power to the land, then we give back the power to the ancient ways, where we still perceive the victim stories. All we are doing is giving permission for those ancient magics to stay small. All we're doing is keeping them small. It's time to not. And with the wolf in sheep's clothing story, my guidance was like, but what if you just, there's the wolf and the sheep scenario problem going on. What if you walk in as a lion? It's time now to stop seeing humanity as a victim. We are not sheep. We are brilliant, divine beings. With so much ancient magic that is in our DNA. With the knowledge of the abundance of the earth in our DNA, and with the rights to freedom in our DNA. And we are the caretakers of these laws, LORES. And you here are the guardians of the Amrita. That's part of the lineage connection that are connected to this project. And of course, we all then have to, as we receive it, we're going to have to learn how to use it But we also have to take that karmic lesson and be like, okay, we learned not to blow things up. You know? We've learned. We've got to be like, okay, we learned. You know, my guides were like, because a lot of people, when they hit the power thing with Atlantis, they hit the like fear of their power. And the guys just turned around to a group that was so scared of its power, and they were like, you've just spent 2,000 years learning how not to abuse power. Like, you've learned. Like, trust in your heart. Trust in your goodness. It's not going to change when the power's back with you. Your goodness, your heart is only going to be amplified by the Amrita returning to you. And so, yes! Everybody say, let's do this!
Let's do this!
Woo! And so I just want you to close your eyes. And my truth is not your truth. Your truth is a star. But anything that I have said that has illuminated more of your truth, let that shine. And anything of my truth that doesn't belong to your truth, just let it go so that it can shine brighter. And feel the energy of prayer coming around you now. People who have never met you before in this lifetime, holding prayer for you so that you can be in the miracle body to do this work. Feel that Amrita lineage beginning to glow. Feel the soul contract of like, which is always like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I just know I'm meant to be doing this. Be in the peace of the mystery. And open up to receiving that ancestral magic of the Cathar and of the native people of this land that was buried and burnt for you to be received. And just allow that lineage to open up and start to receive that magic. As you feel the violet flame coming through you now, transmuting all energy that does not serve or belong into love and light if it is ready to be transmuted. And a golden rain shower of light coming down, taking any energy that is meant to go to the earth as an offering to Mother Gaia. And a big beam of source light coming in, taking any energy that is meant to go somewhere else as an offering to the stars. And now that we have offered, let's get to that land. Let's do this!